The Mystery Flesh Pit National Park, a cosmic horror experience inside the gut of a subterranean superorganism so vast it has a food chain inside of its food tubes, and also a top-notch example of innuendo. What could possibly go wrong when they shove a bunch of metal stents in its throat to build a maul inside of its gullet with no clue to the extent of its incomprehensible anatomy? How do I get all these slimy parasites to stop eating all of my customers? Who are the MarrowFolk, and where are they hiding? Find out this time on In the Flesh Pit. The Mystery Flesh Pit National Park is a now-defunct national park and resort in Texas that was constructed inside the eternal anatomy of a monumentally sized creature that extends for miles underground. We know about this park because of one artist, Trevor Roberts, who has an extensive collection of media and artifacts relating to the park. They've done a great job documenting it, and I'll be linking their work in the description. If you haven't seen my first video on the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park, you should definitely go watch it. It covers the discovery of the pit, many of the interesting pit-dwelling life forms, the infrastructure, anodyne and its products, and the story of the disaster and closure of the park. It'll be linked in the descriptions and in the comments and probably in the end card, and if you don't watch it, you'll be super confused and I will find you and feed you to the pit. The most fascinating of the many conspiracy theories that surround the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park is the legend of the MarrowFolk. The MarrowFolk are thought to be a humanoid species that evolved to live in the pit. Some MarrowFolk conspiracy theorists believe they evolved from humans who began living in the superorganism millions of years ago. Reported sightings of these people are thought to be gas bowels being mistaken for the flesh Bigfoot. By name alone, the MarrowFolk are likely to make their homes in the holes of the megafauna's bone marrow. If they look similar enough to be mistaken for a gas bowel, they're likely somewhat to resemble them, but larger and more humanoid in shape. I would suspect that they would survive either by harvesting meat and biological tissue from the marrow and the walls, hunting interpit life forms and tourists, or a little of each and a little cannibalism here and there to keep things interesting. The Mystery Flesh Pit truly is a dark, moist, slippery, undiscovered frontier. Even since the last video, our team has more hypotheses about the elusive biological marvels that make their home in the pit. The Venous Shamble most likely uses its vascular extensions both to feed off of nutrients and fluids from the anatomy of the pit, and also for locomotion. I'd guess that many a tourist have woken up in a twisted weave of veins slowly sapping their moisture. Hikey kinda looks like a Dumbo octopus being swallowed by a sea cucumber with such force that it crapped out all of its veins through its skin. This is the lesser Copepod. It's like the abyssal Copepod, but apparently lesser. I reject that notion. He's not the lesser Copepod. We're gonna call him the short king Copepod. Let's talk about the Ballast Sirens. My theory is that they're located in the amniotic ballast. When people are under the extreme aphrodisiac effects of the strongest springs, chances are they will be in a hypersensual and very suggestible state, and they will want to stick their bits in literally anything that has a slot that it fits with. The Ballast Siren will attempt to attract these horned up, inebriated individuals like a siren to put their bits in one of the holes, and then the suction grabs them and they suck all of the internal organs out of the naughty hole. Or maybe they don't do that. Who knows? I just made all that up from context from its name and anatomy. You got a better idea? Leave it in the comments. The Gastric bristle worm is named after a regular bristle worm, which is a common nautical animal that often acts as a decomposer. The Gastric bristle worm likely explores the digestive system like an ocean and helps the megafauna digest organic material. If you found yourself unlucky enough to be being digested by the pit, just know that this thing will be swimming in and out of your melting skin while it happens. Moving on, the bone mite is a large parasitic mite that feeds off the bone marrow and blood of the superorganism. If these mites function like I think they do, then I suspect very soon tourists will be found with no bones or blood and their skin covered in bone mite bites. My theory about the little wiggly abomination that looks like an upside down Christmas tree called the Gangliotode is that it's basically a nematode, or a parasitic roundworm, except it's on the scale of the gargantuan creature that is the superorganism, and thus could probably slurp all your blood out so hard that your skin and organs crumple up like a drained Capri Sun. The Shrieking Cloistropod looks like a Cronenberg-themed quadruple-ended vibrator that operates solely on biological pulsation. It looks like it might root itself into the walls of the flesh and then shriek, I guess? I don't know. I don't know what this one does. I'm moving on. The stinging Triocanth kinda looks like a giant wiggly wasp with wiggly deer horns. I'm guessing it acts like a giant wiggly wasp too and stings the crap out of whatever it sees until it's no longer alive. Remember folks, everything in the pit actively wants to end your existence. So act like you would if you were in the wild in Australia. Well, maybe not that extreme, but you know, the same idea. There's reports of an interpit life form capable of creating a hallucinogenic venom in glands behind its eyes and spraying it at those who disturb it as a defense mechanism. I will call this creature an Expectorate. It has two large, seemingly bioluminescent eyes it uses to see in the inky darkness of the guts, and four appendages which it uses to drag itself through the folds of the fleshscape. It's often camouflaged in the crevices of the pit anatomy, and uncautious tourists have been sprayed with large amounts of venom that can cause radical perspective shifting and perception of new insights, euphoria, immersive experiences, disassociation and non-responsiveness, sensual enhancement, dysphoria, fear, terror, or panic. Testing of this venom reveals it to be a chemical very similar to 5-MeO-DMT, a powerful psychedelic produced in the venom glands of the Bufo alavaris toad that lives across the southern United States. For this reason, I have deduced that the Expectorate is a Bufo alavaris that made its home out of the pit, and then evolved like the amorphous shame. Nah, I made this guy up completely. He's not a part of the MFP, but I had you though, right? The Gift Garden is yet another example of how the mystery flesh pit is capable of feats that boggle the entire scientific community. Deep in the superorganism is an organ composed of large bronchioles containing tens of thousands of what were soon deemed gift sacs. These sacs receive nutrients from arteries, but this nutrient-rich slurry also contained construction materials such as plastic, metals, wood, and silicate. The gift gardens would use these materials to grow objects that were familiar to a guest. Examples include childhood toys, photos of loved ones, and old appliances. Closer inspection of these items revealed them to be not perfect copies, but instead occasionally functional but often convincing recreations of these objects. Once the gift had gestated enough, the sac would turn translucent, signifying that the guest's gift is ready for collection, and will be available to them for a nominal fee after harvesting. Scientists have absolutely no idea how this organ works, but some theorize it's a process involving the pit's neural tissue receiving brainwaves from the humans inside of it. While the idea of the pit having telepathy is unsettling, there's no reason to think it would use this for predatory purposes. Park is closed, get the fuck out.